want you to hit me as hard as you can.
We'll tear your soul apart.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
Now the dream is over. It's acted away.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Talking Movies, and my name is Josh.
I'm Clay.
I'm Chris.
I'm Randall.
And we are talking about this week the 1972 directorial debut of Wes Craven, Last House on the Left.
Junior.
To avoid fainting, keep repeating to yourself, it's only a movie. Only a movie. Only a movie. Only a movie. Last House on the Left.
Randy, this was your pick.
Yes.
All right. So
yeah,
why don't you describe the plot for us? Tell us a little bit about your relationship with Craven and where this kind of ranks in his filmography for you.
Okay, so Wes Craven has always been important to me because up until like 2017, maybe 2018, Scream was my favorite movie, like favorite horror movie. Hands down, there was not really much of a contest. It was always Scream. I love that movie. The first horror movies I ever really watched was Nightmare on Elm Street. I wasn't really supposed to, but I did. And so I've always been a pretty big fan of his. As far as where this ranks in his filmography for me, oh man.
Just in a general sense, like obviously
probably towards the bottom, but that's like ranking my favorite Rancid albums. So like,
yeah,
it's towards the bottom maybe, but it's towards the bottom of a great filmmaker. So that doesn't mean that it's a bad movie. Quite the contrary. I really enjoy this movie. We'll get more into that in a few minutes, but the plot is pretty simple. These two young ladies, they kind of live out in the sticks, and so to go do things, they got to travel. And this young girl, her family's kind of worried about who she's hanging out with and whatever. And she convinces them to let her go out with a friend. I don't remember what they're doing, like a party or a concert. I can't even remember what it was. It was a concert.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they go out, and that's right. It was a concert. They go out into the city, and they go to try to score something with a dude. And they meet this guy, and he's like, "Oh, I got what you're looking for." They go upstairs. They end up getting kidnapped. And then things take a very, very sharp left turn. They begin to get abused, assaulted, and ultimately, we can talk more about it in a minute. But yeah, that's the major plot of of what you're getting sold on to go. What happens next? And it's it's from the 70s, like you said. What 1972? It's
72, yeah,
crazy movie for 1972.
Yeah. So. For the audience, red flag for anybody, that's
disclaimer, man. There's
disclaimer for
some rough subject matter going to be talked about in this podcast.
Under the age of 25, be careful.
Yeah, this is just something you want to, if you're sensitive to essay subjects and things of that nature, be forewarned. We're gonna talk about some gnarly stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we have to be able to talk about it too. So I mean, so otherwise there's no point in having the discussion about the movie. So
no, disclaimers are good.
Yeah, so I say talk about it how you guys want to. I meant to say this before the podcast, but we'll just say it. And if something gets flagged from YouTube, and then I'll bleep it or cut it out or whatever, figure something.
I really wasn't sure,
so
I was trying to tread carefully.
Don't worry too much about it. I'll figure it out afterwards. So
I'll try to be, nimble with the words because, anyway, we're on YouTube, so we'll try.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a rape revenge movie. We have to, be able to.
I think
about
it's
that.
ludicrous the stuff that you're not allowed to say without getting a demonetization card thrown in your face. It's wild, man. You can't even say the word kill. It's nuts. And they don't demonetize you either. That's their little trick. Is they put you in a class of video where you're age appropriate, which puts it's very hard to succeed with that stuff on. So
yeah, I mean, I always put my videos that are not okay for kids anyway, because we're always talking about horror movies and weird stuff anyway. So
it's strange because they don't even, that's not even what that really means. It just means, is it made specifically for children? They don't make it very clear. It's muddy. I've been fighting that for a long time. So
so let's talk about the movie. So this is an iconic horror movie. I mean, that's one of the reasons you picked it, I think, because it's the first film from a huge horror director, one of the masters, one that I hadn't seen. I know Chris hadn't seen it.
I was picking it for it checked a lot of boxes, I thought, and I've been waiting for somebody else to pick it. Nobody did. And I kind of was like, here's my time to like really bring up one that's substantial and that needs to be talked about.
Sure. Yeah. There's a lot that we can talk about too. I mean, because historically speaking, there's a lot to this movie just in the time and place that it's in. So let's talk about Wes Craven a little bit, because this is his first movie. I like looking at historical context and things, so I want to sort of lay the groundwork a little bit. So this is, Wes Craven. I don't know if you guys know this, but he grew up in like a strictly Baptist household, like fundamental. Like he didn't even watch movies until he was in college. Like never saw a movie. I think he said except for Disney movies. For some reason, Disney movies were okay, but
that's how they brainwash you,
right? Because those are nice, but everything else was considered sinful. Like all movies were considered sinful.
I actually did know that.
Yes, I'm not surprised that you know that, but I wasn't aware of it until I did some research about it, and it makes a little bit of sense because
it really does.
People that are restricted that much tend to overcorrect. So when he got to college and started doing his own thing and making his own choices, and he's like, watching movies, and it's like, if this is sinful, then I guess I'm a sinner. Like he kind of just leaned into it. And this is the late 60s, which is just culturally speaking, is a really like volatile time. We're talking about Vietnam. I think specifically with this movie, you got to talk about Manson a little bit, because the fear of the free love and hippie culture and all that stuff, I think that kind of folds into this movie.
Interesting. Okay. I would like to talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, movies were changing because of that. Like people were seeing from Vietnam. Wes Craven himself said that he was seeing documentaries about Vietnam and all this stuff, and he's seeing like real violence and horror.
Probably the first time
of reality. Yeah, I mean, because World War II and stuff, all that stuff was censored so much that it was a very raw.
All you got was propaganda that was like pro America, pro this, pro that. They're the bad guy. We did nothing wrong. Right. And then also no graphic violence, which is a
And to be fair, World War II is a pretty black and white. We had a real bad guy, so
that's true too.
A little bit different. Vietnam was a very, very gray war,
bro. Yeah, a little bit.
And so, I mean, the late 60s into the 70s was just like a total culture shift. So he was an angry young kid, who just come out of a fundamentalist, restrictive place and was just trying to make movies any way he could. Got involved with this guy called Sean Cunningham, who at the time was nobody, but would go on to make movies like Friday the 13th and stuff like that. He became a big producer for horror movies, but they were just like, well, let's just go in the woods and make this, cheap little horror movie. Wes Craven is not even, I watched quite a few interviews over the past week. He doesn't really strike me as a guy that even likes horror all that much.
I don't think he does or did. Excuse me. I don't think that was his.
I think he got, we'll talk about that a little bit more about this movie too. He got pigeonholed because of this movie and Hills of Eyes and things like that.
So you don't think he liked horror at all? That wasn't like
it's pretty obvious from his interviews that he feels like he was grew up, he was a high school teacher and a college professor. Like he's a very literate, very smart guy who was interested in like art films and stuff.
He was like a buttoned up, like not conservative, but like more on the artsy side of film. He wanted he just was accidentally really good at that. And it was like, well, it's like, if you're really good at this, are they going to give you the opportunity to do that? No, they're going to keep giving you funding for this because that's what makes money. And so it's kind of like a musician that accidentally is really good at rock and roll, but really wants to play like jazz or something, or vice versa. Whatever.
Because like you go through a rebellious phase in life, right? And you kind of are like, I want to get away from this church stuff. Like I'm going to make a horror movie. And then the next thing you know, that's all they got you doing. Like, what if you regret it a little bit or
you can't regret that, man, because you got to be grateful for the opportunities you were given, because he could have so easily not been a movie maker at all. Although there's going to be some resentment there, of course, but like you got to still be like, well, at least I made some great, because he's an all-time great. Like it'd be different if he made a bunch of movies that all sucked and nobody liked them, and we just found one that was really good, and it was like, and then he made a bunch of bad movies nobody liked. That would be cause to be upset.
If you're like, hey, I'm the best punk rock band, one of the best in history, right? But I don't really even like punk rock. It's like,
that's a lot of there's a lot of bands that fit that mold. There's a lot of bands that don't even listen to punk that play it. A lot. It's wild.
Interesting. Well,
yeah.
That's
it's weird.
It's not surprising because sometimes you need someone to look from the outside in to sort of deconstruct it, and I think that's in a broader sense that's kind of Wes Craven's career, because I think he has a very uneven career, but over the course of it, he defined horror in like three different decades. This is the 70s. I think this leads into Texas Chainsaw that came out 2 years later. Like,
wasn't The Hills Have Eyes the 70s as well?
Yeah, that's later 70s. I think 77.
So like he had like the whole 70s locked. He had 80s stuff going on, and obviously the 90s.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Three decades in a row. He kind of changed the way that people looked at horror. So
that's that would definitely suck, though. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
But like I take for granted, I guess, that like when I think of an artist, I'm like, oh, they're doing it because they love it and they're free and they can create whatever they want. But then art is commodified too. So,
the only artists that are doing that, the only ones that are doing that are the ones we don't know about.
They are getting paid, right?
You know what I'm saying? Because like, look at like what I do. I love what I'm doing, but I'm making zero money doing it for the most part. The moment I got paid for doing it, it would turn into a job, and I would ultimately end up doing things I didn't want to do. I can look at YouTube as an example of that. I look at what some of the stuff I had to do that I didn't necessarily want to. It's gotten fixed now, but I'm also making. It's a weird thing, man.
Rose-colored art glasses. Yeah, man.
Let's go.
You start doing anything for money, it's gonna change the way you feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
You could start off with the best intentions and making things because you love them, but it's gonna change no matter what. It doesn't have to be bad, but it's gonna change it in some way.
I would definitely say that what Hugh was saying is spot on for like the early career of these people. You're doing things because you love doing it, and now is it every single person ends up doing things for different? No, but Some of them probably end up doing it because they have to or whatever, because they got. I mean, I would consider it, if you look at it from a different perspective, he got really lucky he got pigeonholed, because he could have also been not given another opportunity. So I guess it just depends on where you sit, and it's a very subjective talking point.
I was gonna say where things fall in history too. Like you were saying, bands, specific type of music gets popular and then it kind of falls out. And if you're making some kind of rock music, but that stuff's kind of not popular, and you want to be famous, you want to make money, you want it to be your job, you might kind of change your direction a little bit. So like you said, if he wanted to make a movie and the only cheap thing he could do was make a cheap horror movie, I mean, yeah, you're probably gonna do it.
It's funny. Go ahead, Josh.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's funny because if you relate it to music, if you ask, let's just use punk rock as an example. If you asked most punk rock musicians, like, hey, so what are you listening to right now? What's on your playlists? I would say like a good 75% of them are going to be like, oh, not very much punk. They're going to list a bunch of other things because it's more so about what they're doing with their life than their craft, I guess. Is like what they enjoy doesn't necessarily reflect in their craft necessarily, because they're pissed off, so they're making a certain kind of art. And I think for movie makers, it might be something similar. They're like, well, I'm good at this here, and it helps me be able to do things on the side over here, because he probably did stuff we don't know he did because he loved doing it, I would imagine. Huh?
Yeah.
It is a weird thing.
Yeah. I've heard you have Randy. I've heard you have conversations with other artists about similar stuff like this. Like if you're a punk rock guy that just listens to punk rock, your music is not going to be all that interesting.
It'll be very limited, very one-dimensional.
You create copies of copies. You have to branch outside of things and see things from different perspectives so that you can bring something different to it.
I saw like a Fat Boys video in his filmography. I don't know if that was.
That's amazing.
It was like
that's
Fat
amazing.
Boys, I don't know.
Dude, I haven't heard that name in probably 15 years. Dude, that's awesome.
Okay, well let's jump back into the movie. I was kind of looking at the landscape of movies around this time, because horror was totally different. I guess we were starting to get things that were more realistic, like Rosemary's Baby and things like that in the late 60s. But it was like really the 70s before we started seeing like the real gritty hardcore stuff. Like the year before this was, Clockwork Orange, which I think you could definitely relate to this movie in certain ways. And Straw Dogs was that same year too. That's another rape revenge film. So things were definitely, like leaning into this direction. People were angry and upset, and they were seeing the truth of violence, I guess you could say.
Well, the 60s was full of free love, like you were saying, peace and love. And then the pendulum swings both ways. So the next decade, they're going to have a little something different. Just like it kind of does it. It's like almost we're on like a 20-year cycle. We get like this happens this decade, then this happens, and then it goes back and forth. I would think that's probably a response to all the nonsense the government was doing. Was a lot. People were angry, and it comes out in all forms. It does come out through music, but it also comes out through film and stuff like this. And it's also, this is a real scenario. This isn't something that's made up. People do this kind of disgusting stuff. So,
absolutely. And like I said, I mentioned the Manson family. That was 1969. So, people were definitely, becoming scared of like all this hippie free love stuff around them. They were starting to look at those people differently after that, I think.
Is that what you were talking about when you said it had some, like, I don't remember exactly what you said, but it struck me as interesting because I just never saw it through that lens, and I thought that was an interesting point.
I was watching the movie and I was like, so Wes Craven said he based the story off of Virgin Springs, the Ingmar Bergman movie, which is the exact same plot. This daughter goes out in the woods, she gets assaulted and killed. And then the people that did it, they end up going to the parents' house. they figure out that that what happened, and then the parents take revenge on them. Essentially, there's a lot more going on with that movie, but
that is the same movie.
What
was it called?
The Virgin Spring. Yeah,
I don't know that I've ever even heard of that.
It's on YouTube. Josh got us all watching it. It's pretty
yes,
nice.
yeah. I sent you the link. I think you actually responded to it.
I probably did. I probably intended to watch it, but you know how that goes.
Yeah, it's a 1960 movie from Sweden. You know, there's a lot more going on with that movie. It's a lot about religion and stuff. We can talk about that after we're done with Last House, because I think Hugh and Chris both watched it, so I wouldn't mind talking about it a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't mind hearing about it a little bit either.
But yeah, I mean, this is where he got the idea. Like I said, he was, you know, interested in art films and things like that. So this is kind of his introduction to movies. The 60s was a lot of foreign films, like French New Wave and Ingmar Bergman. All those people were really popular at that time. So so when Wes Craven wrote this script, he originally envisioned it as an X-rated, fully pornographic movie. I don't know if you guys knew that.
I did not.
Like he
was trying to make Thriller.
I mean, he was fairly successful at that. It got banned in like 8 countries or whatever. I mean, it was.
It was still very.
He got pretty close to it, especially with some of the dialogue. Could have just completely rolled into, you know, sex scenes.
Porn land.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'm just looking through this from a different vantage point, because it just seems so tame to me.
And the soundtrack was kind of pornorific too.
Oh, the soundtrack was so bad, bro.
Yeah.
Like that was the one thing about the movie that I definitely was going to bring up at some point. So I'm glad you did. The music in this movie is atrocious.
Do you guys know who made it?
Specifically composed for this movie.
Hans Zimmer.
Well,
John Carpenter.
No, David Hess, the main bad guy in the movie, the big curly hair guy,
Krug or whatever.
Krug.
Wait, the one with dark hair or the light hair?
The dark hair. Krug, the big guy.
Wow.
He composed all the music for this movie.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Because
That's so ridiculous.
When he got cast, he was like, Wes Craven was like, "What do you do?" You know, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm a musician." He's like, "Oh, do you want to compose the music?"
Sold.
Yeah, no, yeah. He just needed. I mean, nobody making this movie knew how to make a movie. Let's be real.
That's true. The acting is pretty bad too. I would say if they ever made a new cut with a different score, like just some subtle, like something simple, I would pay a lot of money for that, because it almost makes me not want to watch the movie. I forgot how bad the music was. I hadn't seen it in a while. I almost turned it off a few times. I was like, this music is so bad, but I was like, whatever, it's that stupid. Just watch it because I know what happens. I want to get to the end. But it was pretty bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. A couple of the songs are like, it's sort of okay. This is 70s hippie music. It's like I sort of get it. Like it fits the time period a little bit, but some of it is just nails on a chalkboard grading. It's pretty terrible.
I was surprised by the depiction of addiction and DTs, like the detox withdrawals. It was pretty accurate, and I think that's like shockingly important. I think that needs to be shown, because it's not only entertaining, but it's a deterrent. You're like, oh, that's what happens to you if you get high. Like, that's horrible. That kid was going through a lot of physical pain and like emotional torture through these people, and that's what happens when you're in that lifestyle and you're doing that kind of stuff. That's the price tag, and a lot of people don't think about it. And I don't know, since that was a huge part of my life for so long, I tend to be I pay close attention to that stuff. When it's bad, it really bothers me, obviously because of personal reasons. But I thought this was like a simple but effective depiction of that, and it showed him going through a lot of struggle, and it was a way that they can manipulate him. And that's very, 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 very accurate. There were so many things that happened with that character that I was like, wow, that's the best part of this whole movie, because it's the most realistic part that I can verify. Obviously the assault is very realistic, unfortunately, but like that stuff. It was very. I would love to know how they came up with that. Was somebody involved with the movie? Was it an addict or something? Because it was very, very real. It was shockingly so.
I'll say it doesn't sound like anything Wes Craven would have really had anything to do with.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm sure he was experimenting with drugs, at that point, but
But still, as far as with all that stuff, and with going through withdrawals and all that stuff,
and he was using like the right lingo and stuff, and just the stuff that he was saying, it was eerie. I was watching it like, this poor kid, man. And then the way that they manipulate him all the way towards the end of the movie, I mean, I 1,000,000% can say that has happened a lot, that people have done that kind of stuff to people, and it's wild, man. The story is far more like raw and gnarly than the actual execution of photographs.
Yeah, so let's just talk about it a little bit. Chris, why don't you tell us what you thought of the movie? You haven't gotten to talk too much.
Yeah, sorry, I've been on mute a little bit, got noise in the background.
No problem.
Yeah, like I was excited to watch this, but I think this movie is making me realize I'm not that big of a Wes Craven fan. I mean, I want to give it its respect, but I feel like it doesn't hold up that well.
Really?
I mean, it's a super low budget for the movie from the 70s, so like I kind of don't want to like be too harsh on it, but yeah, I mean, like the picture's bad, the acting's bad, the music's bad. So like pure enjoyment wise, I didn't enjoy it very much, but
okay,
I'd say I do want to give it a little bit of respect, so I don't want to just like crap on it. But we had watched Hills Have Eyes at one of the graveyard shifts probably about a year ago or something like that, and I mean this was like second or third in his filmography. It wasn't that far after
movie.
Yeah. I know, and I didn't really enjoy that one very much. So I was kind of hoping, I was expecting to like it.
He definitely has a style, though. I'm not shocked to hear you say that. A little bummed out, not shocked.
I mean, I like Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream, but kind of other than that, I mean, I haven't seen everything, but I think I'm looking at his filmography. Shocker. I saw that like a long
that movie's awesome.
That movie's very bad.
I mean,
very, very bad.
Like I said, that movie's awesome.
First Swamp Thing. The second Swamp Thing, sorry. Where's his first Swamp Thing?
He did the first one. He did not
the first one.
Okay, that's what I thought, and I second guessed myself. But yeah, I mean, I got an affinity for Swamp Thing too, but it's not that great of a movie. What's the other one? Serpent in the Rainbow. We watched that one at another graveyard shift too, and
that thing is amazing.
Wasn't for me, I guess.
I was pretty disappointed with that one myself. I do like People Under the Stairs.
I don't like Serpent in the Rainbow either.
I know Clay is a fan of People Under the Stairs. That one's pretty cool. I like that.
I've never seen that one, so
I feel like I haven't seen that one either. Which I also feel like I have, but I'd have to go rewatch that one. If I have seen it, it's been a long, long time. I think the music in this movie can ruin the entire film for somebody because the music is bad. But I'm a little surprised to hear you say it didn't hold up because it is a low budget. Like if you compared it to a movie that was made like this now, I think it holds up really well, and the stories really holds up. I think that the I don't know what you call it. I don't know what part of it is this, but like the direction of the story, like, hey, we're gonna do this, and then you're gonna do this. This happens in this story. That holds up to me really well because it's so accurate because it's a real thing that happens.
Right.
But that music does make it hard to watch. So I can imagine that if it was changed, you might have a different opinion altogether.
I mean, maybe. It could elevate it a little bit, but like just the whole ending scene with like the dad setting the traps. I don't know. It just felt like a Benny Hill movie. Like none of his traps worked.
Yes.
He couldn't fight him, and he tried to fight the dude, and just like it was just kind of dumb.
And so real quick, Randy.
No, you're fine.
Because you brought up Benny Hill, like the whole cop subplot.
Oh, geez, yeah, that was bad. Although
it is completely unnecessary. Like
Shouldn't have even been there.
it just
Yeah.
pads the running time.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't know if he was thinking of making it like so that to give a little bit of relief between the the hard stuff,
Maybe. Yeah.
but it's just so jarring and ridiculous. Like, I mean, what do you guys? It's
will-
bad, right?
I think
Yeah,
it comes
it's-
with inexperience. He just didn't. He had an idea that just wasn't quite.
Yeah.
It just like Hugh said, it didn't need to be there at all.
No,
Yeah, I mean-
if you can cut all those scenes out, even at the end of the movie, like, I mean, they don't do anything at the end. Like, they didn't even need to show up at the house. You can completely cut them out of the script, and it makes zero difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think at the end they're just letting you know that he was there to witness it, and that guy, the dad's probably going to suffer for getting revenge, which it makes it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I totally agree. They shouldn't have had it in there, I guess. But like, yeah, I can kind of feel like I kind of see what he was thinking a little bit. He was young when he made this, and especially young in his film, career, obviously. But
Yeah.
I guess I just look at this stuff way different, man. I thought it was amazing. I love it.
I was gonna say it was just an excuse for like the cops not to be there the whole movie.
Right.
Because I mean, in reality, like you would have saw this random car with its trunk open sitting right there, and you probably would have gone looking for it because there's escaped maniacs on the loose or something like that, and a missing girl. It's like you wouldn't go investigate that car.
It's very nail on the head. Like, these guys are inept. You know?
Yeah. Although I will say,
So it's Korean, you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if he is trying to make a political statement, just like the cops suck, like authority sucks.
Maybe so, but I was like, I think my favorite character in the movie though was the black lady driving the truck with the chickens.
Yeah, she was hilarious. I kind of thought
that is not what I thought you were going to say.
She was awesome.
Go ahead, Hugh.
Oh, I was just clearing.
I thought I saw you raise your hand or something. Okay.
Oh no, I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I just was not in the right headspace to watch this movie this time. I've probably seen it 3 other times, and I had a migraine yesterday that flattened me. So I needed like some good vibes, and this thing was just not bringing it. It was bringing the pain, which is really a testament to the power of this movie. I think in general, like you have to be ready for this movie, or it's just going to kick your ass. I do like Wes Craven quite a bit. I think when Nightmare on Elm Street came out, I was probably like 8 years old, I think. And I remember there were kids on the playground that would save their popsicle sticks from lunch. And then we would have like Freddy Krueger claws with those popsicle sticks. And then one kid like actually sharpened them up and brought like a makeshift glove with the popsicle sticks to school and got in trouble for it. But it was like...
That kid's awesome.
Yeah, it was like a really pivotal movie for me as a kid. Like, and then it's got Johnny Depp in it and some other great actors. They're not even worth mentioning. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, man, it was like a quintessential part of my childhood. Nightmare on Elm Street, I think, is probably one of the greatest horror movies ever. Shocker. I saw it recently. Not a big fan. People Under the Stairs,
that movie's terrible. It's awful. I hate it.
People Under the Stairs is amazing. I would definitely, say that's number 2 in his filmography. Hills Have Eyes, man, that's a great movie too, but it's another like real kick in the nuts. Like you just can't really just be like, oh, we're watching this and chill with me, honey, and we're gonna catch this, rape revenge movie where these horribly deformed people hop on this chick. Like, it's terrible. It's just fucking terrible. So
man, I must be fucked up, dude, because I would absolutely be like, want to go watch The Hills Have Eyes?
So. No, people enjoy it. Like, I know people who would get behind this movie 100% and be like, dude, you couldn't power through this one? I'm like,
The People Under the Stairs. I ought to go watch that, man. I don't think I've seen that. And you just said you thought it was his second best movie of his?
I do. It's very lighthearted compared to this shit. Like,
how do you feel about where do you rank Scream?
Man, I like Scream a lot. I'd say it's number 3. But
okay, I was just curious.
Got me divorced. Like, Scream almost got me divorced when I was
married.
That
make change your mind on things.
It's anyway, long story. But
no, yeah, I just was curious where you ranked it. If you ranked that one too, I was just that makes me want to go watch it though.
Yeah, the like, there's a story there. It's very brief, but it was just Idiot Hugh, and it wasn't. So yeah, Scream's an amazing movie though, and iconic, obviously, because the franchise has lasted longer than Freddy Krueger has, or Nightmare on Elm Street has. So
Right.
and it's
Right.
even to this day, like the younger generations, my kids, my daughter especially, was like all about some Scream. So I mean, it's a great movie even today. Like it holds up, I think, very, very well. So I mean, I'm a Craven guy. This stuff here, though, honestly, man, is just not my bag. Like it really is too rough.
Well, Josh asked me where I ranked it, and I was pretty honest, man. I rank it pretty low on his filmography. But do I still I don't know if enjoy it's the right word, I guess, but like, do I still
appreciate it?
Yeah, appreciate it, because like I'm gonna rewatch Thriller here soon at some point. I've made my mind up that I need to give that movie another chance. Irreversible, I got to give that one another chance. That one's gonna be tough though.
That's kind of one I wanted to mention a minute ago, but yeah, I mean that's the tough watch.
Yeah, well, this movie is like, so looking at it in 2023, this is a tame movie, but boy, I can't imagine so I don't think I've mentioned this. My mom is not an R-rated movie watcher and is not a horror movie fan. Mm-hmm. And so we were talking, and I said, "Yeah, we're going to watch The Last House on the Left." She's like, "Oh, I've watched that." I was like, "What?" And it like ruined her night, like ruined her for like a week. She couldn't sleep, had nightmares.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine what this was like. In real time, like
at the drive-in.
You know what I'm saying? Like
the boxes in your car,
dude. Just like the stuff with The Exorcist and Halloween, they don't necessarily, quote unquote, hold up to a young kid now watching this stuff. But back then, man, that stuff would have jarred you quite a bit. It would be scary, I would imagine.
There was nothing like it.
I think there's still a power to this movie, just the pure rawness of it. There's
good word.
There's some nastiness.
Another good word.
It's
the definition of grindhouse to me. Like it is
totally
bad music, bad acting, bad budget.
Y'all just killed it with those two sentences, dude. Yes, let's go.
Totally.
Oh,
yeah. It is. Yeah. I mean, there is something about it that's just, it never turns away. It holds on that stuff for so long that it does make it difficult.
Well, think about it like this. Even at the end, those useless cops are still there. So even at the end of the movie, you have a guy who got revenge and got caught doing it. Now he's going to prison. Like there's nothing good after they say goodbye to their daughter. They're like, all right, have a good time. And the movie just tanks from there on out. It just never gets better. And you're like, oh man. So even at the end, those cops may be useless, but it leaves you knowing, well, they witnessed this guy do this. And these idiots probably don't even know how to like fudge some paperwork. They're going to be like, "Oh, you're going to jail."
Yeah, I mean, in a broader sense, this movie is about the cycle of violence. Like, what is it? Violence only begets more violence, or whatever it is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because they make a point of showing you how square the parents are in the beginning. Like,
right.
Oh, you're not wearing a bra, like all this stuff, they show you that these are square, like buttoned up people, and how far like you can fall, when something terrible happens to your family.
I feel like we've been trashing the movie quite a bit, and I'm okay with that. Like normally a movie I like this much, I might be a little more defensive. Like I'm okay with the descriptive words we've been using and everybody's opinion on the movie, because I completely understand it. There were a few things about it though that I think stand out quite a bit and need to be I don't know, just acknowledged, I guess. One of them is that mom, dude. She goes all feral on this guy and just bites his dick off.
Yeah.
And it's like the most effective thing I've seen on an old movie like this, because it shows her just whipping her head around. This dude's screaming bloody murder, and then she's spitting blood out on the. It's like, well, that was not what I thought was fixing. Like I thought maybe she was, when I first saw it, she's gonna trick him and then he's gonna get hit in the head with something. No, she fillets him and then chews it up. Like, what are we doing here? I thought that was really great, and the dad was kind of the whole Benny Hill thing. That's a very good. But like but I get it though. Like in the 70s, that would have been cool. You're like, oh, this dude's all MacGyver in his house up. Like,
Right.
you go, Dad, go. Like I guess I just like shitty movies, dude. I don't know, man.
No,
Like,
I mean, I won't say I liked it, but I definitely appreciated it, and I did, you know, recognize. I can see
say,
how people would respond, you know.
Yeah,
very
I'm not trashing
extremely
it
to this.
because I think it's like genuinely a bad movie. It's obviously
no.
a pivotal movie in horror, and I love
Yes.
Wes Craven. So this was like how he came about. If this movie didn't exist, Wes Craven's career wouldn't exist.
Right.
So,
I wonder
like,
if we
I'm
would
not-
have Texas Chainsaw without this movie.
Dude,
right?
maybe
And
not.
So, you know, this movie is critical to the genre, but you know,
Yeah.
could I handle
I
it
just
tonight?
really
Like, no, yeah, I couldn't do it.
I think I was remembering it to be a little less hokey. I forgot how bad the music was. And so when I mentioned the movie, I fully expected you guys to be like, yes. And I expected like a positive response when we watched it. About 20 minutes in, I was like, man, I have to say it again. The music was so jarringly uncomfortable and bad that I was like, it just didn't really fit the mood of the movie really to me. It was like, it was like they found like a weird, like funky jazz thing. And we're like, here, put this in the movie. Like you said, it was that guy that was in the movie.
They got him to do it for free, so that's why it's in the movie.
You know what? Then they win because that they definitely shouldn't have paid for that. But
well,
man,
they paid him something to be in the movie.
Like
but...
I think it was a good pick. We're having a good discussion around the
Oh,
movie.
yeah,
the
absolutely.
history of Wes Craven. So I'm certainly like I'm glad you picked it. Like,
no regrets, but like
yeah. I mean, I said it to you in the group text after you picked it. Like the next day, I was like, hey, I'm excited to talk about this because I think there is a lot to talk about. I mean,
dude, that might have been.
We've been going for 40 minutes. We're still talking about the movie. That doesn't always happen. So
that's very true. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to. I thought there was some boneheaded choices made in the movie. There was some weird stuff too. I guess it might just be like from the era that the movie came from. But like that girl that was in the trio or whatever, like the group, the girl.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really understand like
why
what
she was there. Like what?
Yeah.
Why would she be with them?
Other than to be like a cock puppet. Like I don't really know what she was like. What was she there? Like I tried to say that without smirking, but you guys ruined it. I said it before I thought about it. And I was like, why did I say that?
No, but I had the same thought too. Like,
it was.
What is she doing there? I guess she just grew
I
up
can see
poorly
how
or something, and
I can see how on the page it would make it seem a little more depraved, though. Having a female just like totally into it with them.
No, that is true.
I do think that kind of comes across a little bit.
No, that actually makes quite a bit of sense. I just thought, what a weird character. Kind of like the cops. I thought she was kind of useless. Like you could have deleted a few of these people and made the movie a little shorter, maybe, and a little more. I don't know.
Yeah,
it got.
Like
I mean,
80-minute movie already.
Right. Yeah. Having her involved though made it quite a bit darker to me because it is kind of crazy to have a woman involved with that.
I think it does.
So
yeah.
I went through a serial killer phase, and I think that the most disturbing serial killers to me always were the ones that had like their sidekick woman, and she would she would bait and lure people into.
You're not wrong.
Grasp, and I mean, to me, and the woman's generally like a nurturing, caring, uplifting, motherly type figure. To have that completely 180. To be this decadent, conniving, manipulative figure, that's disturbing to me. Not that this character was, but it still sort of holds itself out as that, could be.
What was
I
sorry.
Go ahead.
Henry. Wasn't there a female in that one?
Yeah. Was she involved in it?
No, she was like never mind. She was like a love interest, wasn't she?
Yeah. Where he was staying.
Okay, that's right.
That's right. I think
she was getting abused.
Yeah.
That's right. She was a victim. I'm tripping, dude.
Yeah.
I knew there was a woman in that movie that played a pivotal part though, and I was like, that movie had a similar feel. Yeah. Way better made in my opinion. I like that movie a lot. That's a grimy movie, bro. That movie is.
You can definitely compare those two movies, though. Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah.
I think that Henry is a nasty movie, though, bro. That's another tough watch, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, does anybody else have anything to say? We can kind of. I mean,
I got a couple more things I wanted to just touch on because I'm surprised y'all haven't brought any of it up. I thought that the revenge they got was very. I thought it was like the perfect amount of violent, specifically with the mom, and I think that that's actually what I liked about it. It was that the mom bit this dude's piece off, and then she also cut that girl's throat and put her in the water. And I was like, "Yo, that's awesome," because the moms are often depicted as like kind of like, I'm not gonna say cowardly, but like behind the husband, like this woman was like, no dude, I want to go primal. She went all Liver King on this dude and like just got him out of there and then cut old girl's throat. I thought that was pretty crazy. And then I also really just, last time I mentioned this kid, man, they got Junior real bad with that pull the trigger, do it, just do it. Right. Like that's so fucked up, man.
Yeah.
But it's so realistic. There's a lot of mental abuse happening in the world. There's a lot of, what's that called? Like
brainwashing or something.
No, like it's a, oh my gosh, dude, it's like verbal abuse, but it's a different word. But there's a lot of that happens. People do that to each other a lot. They abuse you with words and with their it's manipulative, you know. And this kid was he was a lonely, sad drug addict, and he needed redemption of some kind, and he just wasn't. They weren't gonna let him have it. And I also thought that was pretty necessary because in real life, that's not what happens, dude. You don't get the redemption all the time. Sometimes they OD and die. Sometimes they die in their sleep. Sometimes they get locked up. You know, that kid was a sad, sad kid the whole movie.
Yeah,
it was the dude's son too, wasn't it?
Oh shit, was it really?
And they mention like the Krug or whatever was his dad.
Oh, was it?
Wow.
Or am I making that up? Like, I'm pretty sure they did.
I mean, they called him Junior. Maybe that's why.
That's what I thought.
Bro, I've seen this movie like 5 times. I never knew that.
I didn't catch that, but
I think so.
I'll definitely have to look into that. But
yeah, could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they mentioned it once, I think. And then they call him Junior, and they have a few little interactions where it seems like it's his dad.
Huh.
That's crazy.
That's the case. That's crazy for sure.
Last thing about this movie, and we can move on if Josh wants to, but I thought it was funny and it was good for it. Oh, okay. Huh. Man, I never knew that, bro.
I didn't either. That makes it even more fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, dude, really does. I thought it was hilarious foreshadowing whenever the parents were like, "Who are you going out with?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm going out with this person." And they're like, "I don't think that's a good idea." And she's like, "Oh, come on, Mom." And they're like, "Well, okay, but be careful." And you're like, "Oh, geez, Louise, if I hadn't even seen this movie once and it was 1972, right, I would have been like, well, I know where this is going." Yeah. But I don't know, man. That fucking music in this movie really makes it hard for me to like it more than I do. I want to love this movie more than I can. I simply can't because the soundtrack is hard to listen to. But yeah,
I mean that's kind of how I feel. Yeah, like I didn't enjoy it very much, but it definitely has a lot going for it.
Yeah,
and especially for being at the time that it was made, that I can't deny its importance.
Well, anybody that likes the revenge flicks of any kind, because there's a bunch of different like little sub genres of that, but like specifically I Spit on Your Grave, even The Hills Have Eyes, this movie spawned all that stuff. So it's kind of like what I would say with like Rancid and The Clash. Well, The Clash is a big reason Rancid sounded the way they sound, or sound the way they sound.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like The Clash though, so you don't have to like this movie. It still might have given you something that is, you know, in your on your movie shelf, and I think that's important too.
Right. Like I said, I mean, I think this, I don't know if Texas Chainsaw really exists without this, just in the low budget grittiness of it, and the whole fear of, you know, the unknown, like the country, you know, being out in the country with these, you know, redneck people, you know.
Yeah.
Well, those are some unsavory people. Does anybody own this, or did everybody just rent it?
I bought it.
Watched it.
I've got it on. You got
this?
Is this what you bought?
I didn't buy the Arrow one. I just bought a regular Blu-ray, but I wanted to watch some of the special features and stuff.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is I wanted to get into some of this. I would love to know It's too dark in here right now. I guess I'll just look at it later and see exactly what's on here. If there's any kind of stuff from Craven, I'd love to hear what he has to say just in general about this movie.
Yeah, there's some good interviews that I watched with him. You know, he's I don't think he's particularly likes this movie very much either. Like he said, he won't watch it again. You know, that's
that doesn't surprise me.
rough memory. And you know, we kind of touched on it earlier, but it kind of hurt his career for a long time. Like people looked at him funny after this movie. They were like,
they're like, what is this fool thinking?
Like he was you know, around a bunch of intellectuals. Like he was like a high school teacher and stuff. And like he said that people wouldn't leave their kids in the same room with him, and like, you know, they would. And he tried to do other movies outside of this, you know, that weren't horror, and he just couldn't. No one would touch him, and that's why he ended up making Hills of Eyes, because that's all he could get made, and that's like 5 or 6 years later.
Yeah.
But that's the reason he had such a big break between movies, because he was, you know, legitimately like writing other scripts and trying to push, you know, get out to break out, and he couldn't.
That's crazy.
But this movie was like hugely controversial. You know, like he said that people were like in the drive-ins, people would like attack the projection booth to try and turn it off. Like it was
that's crazy.
Stuff happening. You know, in England, of course, it was banned. It was a video nasty, and
yeah.
Actually, like I thought this was crazy. They, even when they finally released it in the UK, it was still like a cut version of it until 2008.
Wow.
Like they would not allow the uncut version. So it's not been that long ago. It's been 15 years since they finally released that version of the movie.
Well, I guess never mind. That's a dumb question. I was going to ask if any of y'all had seen the remake, but that's stupid. There's 2 different remakes of this movie, and I've owned both of them. And then you have the I Spit on Your Grave stuff, which is essentially the same movie. Yeah, man, this definitely like kind of just like spawned its own subgenre of stuff, kind of.
Totally.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, thanks for watching it, guys. I appreciate it. No, seriously, I'm not joking. I really do. This might have been like the best pick I've made, just simply because of the conversation.
Yeah, no, great conversation. Lots of history and stuff to talk about. So I'm totally glad that we did it. I'm gonna give the pick for next week. It's my pick this week, so I'm gonna get that out of the way, and then we can talk for a few minutes about other stuff before we wrap up. So it's Halloween time. I really wanted to pick something that was sort of classic, but maybe a little underseen. So I'm picking Psycho 2.
Dude, I knew you were going to say that.
Okay.
That is so weird.
Really?
In my head, I was like, it'd be funny if you picked Psycho 2. And then you went Psycho, and I was like, oh, I was close. And you went 2. And I was like, in my head, I was like, what? So, yeah,
have you seen it before?
Bro. Me? Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Dude, I haven't only seen it once, maybe twice, but I think just once.
Okay. I've never seen it
before.
Never seen it before. You know, of course, Psycho is, you know, a classic.
Yeah.
This is like takes place like years down the road, doesn't it?
It's 22 years later.
It's a good movie.
And, yeah,
I'm sure I've seen it, but dude, I don't remember that. It's been forever.
Yeah. What was that show they had on? Was it like an AMC show or
Bates Motel?
Showtime? Okay, yeah. Bates Motel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of that. Like Megan got into it, and I watched a little bit of that. I mean, I don't know where it falls in the timeline. It's like, because
that's
all
before.
That's
right?
all before Psycho.
Okay.
That's all before Psycho.
Yeah.
I like Psycho a lot. Like the first movie, like a lot. I often forget how much I love that movie. But Psycho 2 is good, man. Like you're very spot on with underrated, like underseen. Psycho 2 is good.
Yeah, it's I've been hearing people kind of reclaim it recently because
nice.
You know, it's one of those things like you don't touch a classic. Like, why would you even make a sequel to Psycho? You know, so I think it got kind of reviled just for, you know, the gall of making a sequel. But
I mean, it does. does take some gall.
But I've heard a lot of people say that it's actually really good. So I've been wanting to watch it, and I thought it would be a good pick. So Psycho 2 next week.
All right.
Heck yeah.
That would be a good watch.
Yeah, I might just watch Psycho as well.
I was gonna say I'm gonna watch both because it's been years since I've seen Psycho.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to see. I want to see how it kind of rolls into it. You know how it feels. So,
I mean, I don't know if I'll have time to watch both, but I will at least try. I got that trip coming up, so I got a lot of like just nonsense to do, and I got to prep for a whole week. I won't be here, so yeah, I got a lot of weird shit coming up.
No, I'm
definitely, dude. I'm stoked though. It's a good pick.
Cool. Yeah, I've never seen it, so I'm excited.
Well, it's October, so I'm fully back on the train of movies right now. I'm trying to watch as much as I can.
Yeah.
I'm getting Krista to watch some stuff with me. We're trying to watch some spooky stuff. Oh, she agreed to go to a haunted house in Vegas, bro.
Is that the one that Clay was talking about?
Serious.
I don't know. I just want to go to one. I can't fucking wait, dude. I'm so excited for this trip, man. I'm dude. Yeah, bro. I wish to God you guys could come with me, man. I would be so stoked if you guys could come.
Sounds like fun.
Maybe another time, man. I have a feeling that I'm going to be doing like little mini trips. I think I can make it affordable to go see like bands and shit. My channel's doing well, and I think I can make it make sense. But I want to try this first and see how this is. I'm not sure about this plane thing, but
yeah,
I'm a big puss, so we'll see. Man, Psycho 2. It's been a while since I've seen that.
All right, does it?
Yeah. So there's a haunted house that's one of the most terrifying haunted houses in America.
In
It's
Vegas?
called Blackout. Yep.
Yeah.
It's called Blackout. Anyway,
I'm super interested. Like
you actually
legit.
have
Man, I
to,
can't wait.
there's a waiting list and all. You probably won't be able to make it this time. but-
Oh, nice. That's cool though. Yeah, I'm.
Anyway,
Well, I'll reserve this till the end. We'll talk more movie stuff for a few more minutes, and then I'll tell you what I was going to tell you.
Yeah, let's wrap up and then whatever.
Did anybody watch anything else this week at all?
Yeah,
Sorry,
that's
Josh,
what I was.
just ran right.
No, sorry. I was about to just list off a few things because October 1st I've been trying to watch a horror movie every day. So
Nice.
So let's see. I watched the original Witches with my kids. I don't know if you all have ever seen that.
Yeah.
My daughter loved it because she's really into witches for some reason right now.
That feels like a Natalie movie.
So she loved it. I thought it was pretty fun. Watched that new movie on Hulu called No One Will Save You.
What's
Alien. It's a alien invasion, home invasion movie.
Huh.
Anna watched
Oh,
it.
I've
She
heard
said it
about
was pretty
this.
messed up.
Yeah.
Is it good?
Yeah, it just came out on Hulu.
I thought it was awesome.
Cool.
I give it like 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was
Dang.
yeah. So it's like, okay. So I'm just gonna tell you. So it's better if you know.
That's fine.
There's like no dialogue in the whole movie.
That's awesome.
It's all visual. Like it's this girl that lives in this house alone. An alien shows up in her house, starts walking around, and she's just like trying to survive. She's running away from it, and every
that sounds
like
amazing.
Like at the end of every action sequence, something they add something to it, and something changes, and it just keeps ramping up and up and up, and it's pretty cool. The ending is a little like love it or hate it. I thought it actually worked pretty well, but I wonder if you guys will feel the same way. But it's worth watching. It's definitely worth watching. It's one of the cooler things. I mean, it's been kind of not a great year for movies in general. So
It really has
been
been a very good
pretty high
year.
on my list this year.
Yeah,
Dude, I'm gonna try to watch this tonight. It's only 90 minutes.
Yeah, it's not long, but it's
nice,
pretty cool.
bro. Heck yeah, man.
Yeah, I plan on watching it too. It's got the chick, the girl in Justified, like the younger foul mouth girl from Justified.
She's in that movie Booksmart as well.
Yeah, she's done a couple of things.
Yeah.
Nothing huge, but Justified's the one I like we would all know.
Yeah, I know who that girl is. I like her.
She's good. She doesn't talk in the movie, but she does great. She's really good in it. I watched Event Horizon. I'd never seen Event Horizon before.
Whoa, that's a badass movie.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's pretty 90s cheesy. But,
Oh no, for sure.
But it was awesome.
I remember when
Had a
I
good
was
time.
younger, my brother would tell me, he's like, dude, if you want to watch a horror movie, bro, you got to watch this movie called Event Horizon. And he thought it was like this amazing, scary movie. And I just didn't think it was scary at all, but I love that movie. But yeah, I have like this fond memory of it because of him. And we didn't really bond on movies very much. So that's one he's always liked. And I thought that was cool.
And I love watching Sam Neill go crazy. So.
I love Sam Neill. I watched the Sam Neill movie too.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. What else? Is that all you watched?
Well, one more. I watched the original Invisible Man.
Ooh,
Watched that today.
That's a good movie.
Like 70 minutes. I mean, it's from the 30s, so it's like you know what you're getting into, but it was pretty dark for being from the 30s. Like,
bro, I love that movie.
He kills like 100 people or something.
Dude,
he derails a train, so he kills a lot of people.
I love that movie, dude.
It's pretty awesome.
That's my favorite old school horror movie. Here, I want y'all to. I'm trying to shut the fuck up. I'm failing miserably at it.
No, that's cool. That was my last one. If you want to list some stuff out, go ahead, Randy.
I watched a bunch of stuff, like in part because I was working a lot at night. I watched what's the original Dracula movie with the guy with the weird face? Oh golly.
Nosferatu.
I watched Nosferatu, and then I watched the Cabinet of Curiosities. Is that what it's called? Dr. Caligari's Cabinet of Curiosities or some shit.
Oh, no, the Cabinet of Curiosities. That's like the Del Toro TV show.
That's right. No, what is this?
Dr. Caligari, Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, I think is what it's
whatever
called.
that is. I watched that too. It's like Nick Cage's favorite movie. Weird flick, man. I watched Hellfest, which is like a haunted house slasher type flick, but you would hate. I love. And I watched the first two Dirty Harrys because they're the first two Dirty Harrys.
Nice.
I don't think, and most of these I fell asleep during because it was late at night. But I watched, and then I watched one other thing. Oh, I watched Jurassic Park with Parker.
Nice.
He's balls deep in dinosaurs right now. So he was like, dinosaur. I was like, fuck, okay, bro, we can watch the dinosaur movie. And then he was like terrified the whole movie and couldn't sleep. I was like, bro, fuck out of here.
There you go. I think I showed my son that one pretty young too, it scared the crap out of him, but I think he liked it. What about you guys? Chris?
Yeah, I watched My Neighbor Totoro like 4 times this weekend. I had my daughter. I was thinking about going to Alamo, but I don't know. I didn't feel like dealing with her. She's still only 2.5, so even a kid-friendly screening at Alamo, I think it's a little too soon.
Yeah.
But, so I just threw it on at the house, and she watched it once or twice before and liked it. So we ended up watching it 3 times in a row, and then
wow,
again yesterday.
Kids are fun.
So that's been most of my movie watching, but I mean, Josh and I went and saw the Creator.
Yeah.
I want to watch that
Saturday.
bad.
It's really good. I think you'll like it. I don't think you'll love it. But
everybody's ranting about it though, man. I haven't heard anybody tell me it sucked dick yet. So I'm like kind of excited to watch it.
Yeah. I mean, it's original. Like,
cool.
I think it's getting a little bit of a pass just because of that. And I'm probably guilty of it a little bit, but everybody's tired of Marvel movies. Everybody's tired of remakes. Everybody's tired of sequels. But something, I'll say, halfway original comes out, and like nobody's doing anything but shitting on it. So I don't know. It's kind of a bummer.
Everybody that I've talked to that I know personally has at least enjoyed the movie and said like, yeah, it's worth checking out. I haven't heard anybody be like, yo, it's terrible. Skip that one.
The film bro community is shitting all over it because it's like it's so derivative, blah blah blah. And
what does derivative mean again?
It's basically just borrowing from other movies.
That's every movie that exists.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of
like
Blade Runner in it. There's a lot of like District 9 in it. There's a lot of like other sci-fi movies.
I've never understood that whole complaint. Like, I guess if it's like a carbon copy of one specific movie, it's kind of boring. But like to be pulling from a bunch of great shit that we all love, like
Well, it's.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a classic story. There's nothing like gonna blow your mind about the actual like plot of it, but
Okay.
it's an amazingly constructed world. Like it looks amazing. It looks way better than anything that Disney is putting out or DC or Marvel or any of that
That's
stuff.
awesome.
The CGI looks incredible. Like it has a texture and a scale to it that most big budget movies are not. I mean, it looks way better than the Indiana Jones movie that we had like 3 months ago, and that movie was like cost over $300 million, and I think
That's
they said
crazy.
the budget of this was like 80.
Yeah,
I never even watched that Indiana Jones movie. I need to watch that, dude. Was it good?
I
It's
liked
not
it.
bad.
Oh wait,
It's not
that's
bad.
right.
It's
I heard
okay.
it was kind of mid.
Yeah,
It's way better than Crystal Skull. I'll say that.
Well, I like Crystal Skull just fine,
I
but
mean, it's
a bad movie.
It's beneath all the originals, but kicks Crystal Skull's ass. I'll just say, like, and the creator too. It was shot on a camera you can go buy at Best Buy on it's like a $3,000
Really?
full frame.
That's awesome.
Like it's like a standard camera, pretty much.
I know they use some very old lenses though. That's why it has that old the grainy look to it. They use some old school lenses, but yes,
that's dope.
And I was a little bummed to learn that, like, the way they saved so much money, not one of the ways they saved money, was that they didn't send it to special effects until the entire movie was done. So they didn't like waste any time like cutting scenes or anything like that. So like we'll never get a director's cut of it. And that's one of the things I said after I watch it. I was like, man, I'd really love a director's cut, but it's never gonna happen. So
I've never. That's interesting.
It's still cool. It's still worth a watch.
I guess there's like some tension about racism in the movie. Couple.
Oh, really?
I mean, yeah. So apparently it was shot in Thailand to save like on the budget. And then there's Japanese actors that shout Japanese down the streets of Thailand and stuff. So I guess that, historically speaking, Japan has, put a lot of pressure on Southeast Asia and multiple times through history. And so people don't really like the idea that like the Japanese are sort of the counterparty in the movie, if you will. So there's like Japanese writing, there's Japanese characters, there's Japanese influences. And my point is like, hey, look, that's cyberpunk, right? The technological encroachment of Japan on the West was like the cyberpunk movement in the 80s. That's like the foundation of it. And I had a discussion with a very polite Asian person. We had like a lengthy discussion about it. And he's like, well, it would make more sense from a current event standpoint if China was the focus rather than Japan. Like, why is Japan the focus in Southeast Asia? And I'm like, well, the climactic point of the movie would be, in China's favor, if you will. Like, that probably wouldn't sit very high with American audiences. It's like a complex subject on multiple levels, but
it sounds like somebody made a bad call, like in writing
then they
it.
try to figure it out technically, historically, and it just didn't sit well with people. So who knows?
Yeah,
I think that sounds like a bunch of whininess to me, but
a bit. Not that it's not like.
It's historically
valid.
based. Yeah, it is.
But
it is valid. But
also another thing that I guess people are still mad at it about. Like, you remember there was an explosion in like Eastern Europe or something like that somewhere like a couple of years ago. That
sounds familiar.
They actually used the real footage from that explosion to create some of the explosion footage in the movie.
That's kind of wild.
I mean, that's one of Gareth Edwards' things, is he's very good at shooting with CG in mind. So everything's shot like on location and sets and everything. So it's easier to pile CG on top of something that's actually real. So they used this real explosion and added CG on top of it. And I guess that also ruffled some feathers for just using an actual like not natural, but like a tragic event for a movie
for monetary gain.
Yeah.
While I understand that a little bit, I also think that there's got to be like people have got to be a little less sensitive about this stuff, man.
Yeah, I
If you
agree.
like I in my personal opinion, if you were to make a joke about the loss of my father, it would sting a little bit, right? But it would also trigger like a lot of happy memories of like my dad and things that we did and yada yada yada. Bro, I don't know. I feel like people have gotten so sensitive that you can't just do and say things that you're feeling and thinking because you have to self censor to a degree that's kind of crazy. So, I mean, he probably thought it just looked right, and it was like, oh man, this is like accurate to what an explosion would look like. Well, let's change it. Let's put some stuff over it so people aren't being. I would imagine he probably tried to be sensitive to people's feelings when making that. Maybe not, but I feel like that's likely the scenario. And then it's people like, oh, meh. I don't know. It's pretty weird, man.
Yeah. Not to say it's not, I guess, a valid thing to, kind of be upset about a little bit. But yeah, I agree.
Interesting.
We need to calm down a little bit.
Yeah,
Chris, you need to calm down a little bit, sir.
Anything else we want to cover before we wrap up, guys?
No. Is anybody going to Alamo this weekend at all? Anybody?
I'm going Friday, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be there Friday. And
Opera, right?
Yeah, opera.
What is it?
The Dario Argento movie, opera.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm working. I was just curious if y'all are going to be up there. I'll be up there.
I'm going to Eyes Wide Shut Thursday because I'm off on Friday.
Oh, cool.
Nice, dude. Heck yeah. Well, not that you guys have the desire to drive over here this weekend, but if you do, there's a fight card. It's free, open invite. I'll be watching some fights. Hugh, if you're interested, come on over. Yeah, dude, there's a good card coming up pretty soon. They may end up scheduling me to work that Saturday because I opened up Saturdays to try to make extra money to make sure my car note's never an issue. So the car's amazing, but I now have, a giant chunk of money every month that I've got to make sure I have that I wasn't responsible for 3 weeks ago. So
yeah, I know.
Yep.
I hear that.
I can't wait for you guys to see the car in person though. It's way, way nicer than it looks like in the pictures. I'm super excited. So I had to go get, dude, that fucking tent, dude. The window tent was so shocking. This guy was like, he would not commit to doing a good job. It was wild, bro. It was wild. So
that's
crazy,
weird.
man.
Yeah, I've gotten tent on every car I've owned and never had an issue with it.
Dude, he goes, well, I can't guarantee that if I do it, that it'll be to your standards. And I was like, my standards are just do it right. And he just looked at me and I was like, man, I was in a good mood till you started talking, bro. I just wanted you to fix it. I thought you were gonna. I was like, I had no reason to believe you weren't gonna. I said, bro, I said, what's the issue? He goes, well, that's just dust. And I was like, that's dust. He's telling me there's bubbles are from dust. And I was like, okay, so close the doors on the place. And he's like, well, it's really hot in there. I was like, yeah, no shit. And I was like, that's the profession you chose. I don't get to be like, man, so I don't drink, but I serve beer. But if I was like, well, I don't want to serve alcohol, but I want to be a bartender. I don't drink, dude. It makes me uncomfortable. The fuck are you talking about? Like, what are we doing? And so I went around and around with this guy. And then I was really nervous because he was getting pissed off. And I was like, bro, I wanted him to refund my money, but he wouldn't do it without taking the tent off my windows. That made me really worried that he was going to damage my car. And so I was just like, bro. And so I recorded him without his knowledge, telling me what he was going to do in the event that he messed something up. He didn't, but I had to go spend double the money at this other place. Yeah. But it looks so nice. I guess I should just be grateful that I got it fixed. But yeah, dude, people, dude, I couldn't believe it. He was just like, I can't guarantee. And I was just like, man, I told him, I said, I got like 5 people that, and my mom, my sister, bring cars up here right now. And he's like, I bet I can find imperfections on every one of them. And I was like, I mean, no, I don't. What? And I was like, no, you probably can't. That's a weird thing to say, though. And I was like, you're just setting me up for disappointment. You're just telling me, like, before you even do it, like, you're not going to be happy, but I'll do it. And he told me I was the first person that ever asked for his money back. I was like, I find that hard to believe. Like, what are you talking about?
I've had people tell me that before, and I'm like, well, it won't be the last person.
No kidding.
Facts, bro. Anyways, man, I freaking miss you guys. Cool, man. Psycho 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Psycho 2 next week. We'll see you guys later.
All right.
Bye.
Yep. Later.